Hey guys, Jem from Team Too Legit to Crit, and today I'm coming at you with a Tachikaze Ancient Dragon deck profile. It's one of the new decks that's available in set 11. I didn't think I would like it because, I'm a GP player, but I tried it out and I love it. It's an amazing deck, really fun, and if you're looking for a fun deck just to try out or mess around with, I definitely recommend this deck. So getting into it, your starter is Baby Rex. You can use the grade 3 searcher if you want to run 7 grade 3s, but I run 8, so I don't really need the grade 3 searcher. Or another option would be, I can't remember his name, but when he dies, basically you counterblast 1, return it to your hand. But I like him. You retire him, you can counterblast 1 and call the 11k Tyranno Legend from deck. So you don't really minus yourself. It's not really a plus, but you get a free 11k attack on the board. And then for grade 3s, the main grade 3 of the deck, which a lot of times you don't think of the break ride as the main grade 3, but this is the main grade 3. This is what you want to ride as soon as possible. You want to break ride over himself so you can get his effect off multiple times in the game. But his effect is, he's an 11k first off, which is nice. His effect is when he attacks the Vanguard, if you have more rear guards than your opponent, he gets 2k, so he's a 13k attacker. And then his main ability is when you ride grade 3 Tachikaze over him, you can retire 2 units, draw 2 cards, and your Vanguard gets plus 10,000 in a crit until end of turn. So he's a really good card. He nets you hand advantage with cards like Iguana Cord that I'll get into in a second, and it's not really a minus because you are sacking 2 cards, but there's cards in the deck that bring themselves back, so you do not minus yourself, and you get the plussing off the draws. And then for your backup grade 3 is Tyranno Legend. I don't like 4. There are builds that main 4, and it's a pure Ancient Dragon build, I guess you could call it, deck. His ability is you sack 3 units, you don't even have to counterblast, and he gets plus 10 in a crit. But you're already at 21 if you break ride with him with a crit, so it's not really necessary. You will waste your counterblast with Iguana Cord bringing him back. I don't think it's really... Sometimes I use his ability if, say, my opponent has 2 or 3 cards in hand, but often that doesn't happen, so it's just kind of sitting there as an 11k body and your backup Vanguard. Like I said earlier, you want to ride the break ride over the break ride, but sometimes you have to ride this over the break ride. And also his secondary skill is you can counterblast 2 Ancient Dragons to add 5k. So if you want to hit a better number, or you're going against a cross ride deck. And then a lot of people don't like this. Some people do. This is one of my decks. Yeah, I wouldn't say it varies because some people do run this. Thanks. And basically this is Dark Rex. His ability is you bind him, add 3k to your Vanguard, and if your Vanguard attack does not hit, you have to have a grade 3 Vanguard to use his ability. If the attack does not hit, you can sack 3 units, ride him, and basically you get another Vanguard swing. This card, a lot of people use it improperly. The way you should use it as a final turn card. You don't want to just use it if you have it in your hand because it's a 10k Vanguard. And in the break ride format, you do not want to sit on 10k at all. It makes it harder on you to win the game. You have to defend yourself more. It's just not a good idea. I'll show you the main play with Dark Rex after I finish the deck profile, but he's sort of the tech, and he helps with the finishing ability of the deck. And then for grade 2s, sorry guys, I'm doing the deck profile myself, so I'm trying to manage it with one hand and do the deck profile. 4 10ks, they're good in every deck. Most decks should run them unless you have a reason not to. 4 12k attackers if you have an Ancient Dragon Vanguard. Every card in the deck is an Ancient Dragon, except for a few of my triggers and the Dark Rex. So this should be swinging for 12k every time. It helps you hit the 11k Vanguards and just hit nice numbers in general. And then 3, there's not a lot of options for Ancient Dragons out right now because this is the first set they've come out in, so obviously they're not going to have a lot of support, is Dino Crowd. You're not necessarily going to use his ability. You just want him for his Ancient Dragon name, and it's a 9k, so it's not bad. But you can sack a unit and add 5k to him. So if you want to hit a number, or if you're pushing for game, you can always retire Iguana Cord, counterblast to save it, and he's swinging for 14k. And then you can still bring Iguana Cord back and just use it as a booster for another unit. And then for the grade 1s, we have the other heart and soul of the deck besides the break ride, Iguana Cord. He's a 7k Ancient Dragon, but his ability is when he is put into the drop zone, I believe. Yeah, put in the drop zone, you counterblast 1 and call it to rear guard. This card's really good, and it also helps you. You don't have to be afraid to push with this early game, because even if they attack it and kill it, it just says when it goes to the drop zone. So you can counterblast 1 and just get your booster back right away, and it helps you with early game pushes. But this card is just a key card in the deck because it helps you so you do not minus yourselves with the break ride, and you get the free draws without the cost. And then your other grade 1 that you run 4 of is another 7k. It's a 10k attacker if you have a Ancient Dragon Vanguard. And then, of course, 4 perfect guards, because they're staple in almost every deck nowadays, unless there's a reason not to run it. Say you're running Ripple Rush or something of that order. And then for the final Vanguard, I run, or not Vanguard, you know what I mean. The final grade 1, I run Gatlingaro. His ability is you sack 1 and he gains 5k. It's the same as the grade 2. A lot of people run Skype Terra, because with Dark Rex, when you sack Iguana Korg, you have to have an Ancient Dragon Vanguard. I forgot to mention that, to use Iguana Korg's effect to bring him back. So when you sack for Dark Rex, you minus yourself, and Iguana Korg can't bring himself back. So a lot of people run Skype Terra because it returns the hand, but it's a bad card in my opinion in this deck, just because the only reason you should be sacking for Dark Rex, you are going to minus yourself, but you should be pushing for final turn. You shouldn't be just carelessly using Dark Rex. So you don't really need the Skype Terra. Plus, it's a 6k booster, and this meta is all about numbers, and I don't like weak boosters at all. So I'd much rather just have the Iguana Korgs and the Gatlinggaros. And then for triggers, obviously, 4 heal, 6 crit, 4 of the Ancient Dragon crit, and 2 of the Black Hand Tiger. A lot of times I don't use our effects. These were the only triggers for Tachikaze that I had lying around, so I want to get the 5Ks just so if I have to hit numbers, I can call them as boosters. And then 6 draw, because a lot of times your hand size can get tiny in this deck, but the draws just help replenish it, obviously. And I'm also a big fan of 6 crit, 6 draw. And also another reason the draws are good, you really, like I said earlier, you can't emphasize this enough, you have to have the break ride. This deck does not work well without the break ride, especially if you're running the 2 Dark Rex and you have to ride 1. It's an awful scenario, and a lot of times you will lose the game if you have to ride Dark Rex. So, okay, now into the main play of this deck. Hold on, guys. I'm going to put down the camera here for a second so I can set up the field, maybe. So, let's just say, what do we have? Call. See if this will be your ideal field, I guess you could say. Make red. So you have that there, okay there, booster. Okay, now say this is your field. You have your 2 grade 2s, doesn't matter what cards. You could even have the grade 1 10k attacker. You draw for turn, say you have 4 damage. You're going to want to ride the break ride, okay? And you're going to sack your 2 Iguana Korgs. This is why Iguana Korg is so important in the deck. You're going to sack your 2 Iguana Korgs, counterblast 2, return them to the field, draw your 2 cards off the break ride's ability. So now your Vanguard's sitting at 21 by himself with a crit, and you got a free +2. So then from there, you're going to want to attack with your rear guards. If you're pushing and you do have this on board, you can go for the 21k column by just using another counterblast to sack him. But if you say your opponent's only at 3 damage or whatnot, you're not going to want to do this. And then you swing with the other rear guard. Oh, before you do this, sorry, I apologize. You're going to want to bind Dark Rex as well. That adds 3k to your Vanguard. This is before you attack. Sorry, I forgot about this, guys. And add 3k to your Vanguard. Oftentimes, you want to make sure your opponent's at 4, preferably 5 damage. You make sure this push can get through, because this is a final turn kind of push. This is your final push of the deck, and you want this attack to go through no matter what. So you have your Dark Rex bound there at 4 or 5 damage. If they're 4 damage, make sure they don't, even if they're 5 damage, now I think about it, make sure they don't have 7, 8 cards in their hand, because you're going to want this attack to go through no matter what. So you're attacking with your rear guards, trying to push that guard out of their hands, and then you're going to attack with the Vanguard. You get your twin drives, so you get another 2 cards, and then say it doesn't hit, you're going to sack whatever you want. You are minusing yourself, but then this is where the break ride comes in. Since you have a full field, you ride the break ride, say you don't have a lot of cards in your hand, which you should since you broke road already anyways, you can use the Break Ride's ability if you want, again, to sack these two and draw 2 more cards. Or you can just leave them on the field and not use the Break Ride's ability because it's optional. But now, since you broke road, your Vanguard has plus 10,000 in a crit. So now you're swinging again for 20k with a crit. So now they've had to guard 2 19 to 18k attacks, maybe even 21 if you use the grade 2's ability. They've guarded those. They've had to guard a 21k Vanguard attack with a crit, and they have to guard another Vanguard attack for 20k and a crit. So that's the deck profile, guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will get back to you guys as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks.